ZipRecruiter.
With ZipRecruiter, we've hired everyone from accountants to project managers to field scientists. ZipRecruiter, we get hiring results.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.ca/Canada. That's ZipRecruiter.ca/Canada. ZipRecruiter.ca/Canada.
680 News Time, 3:56.
Now, 680 News Business Report. Here's Southern.
Hey, so Janet, good afternoon. Walmart Canada plans on closing 6 stores, but also plans on spending $500 million to upgrade other existing stores.
I bet they don't close the one at Duffer Mall or Jane Street.
Locations will be closing down here in Ontario, including one in Moulton and the Country Fair location in Hamilton. 2 in Alberta will be affected, and 1 in Newfoundland, Labrador. Workers, Walmart says, will be offered jobs at nearby stores. Meanwhile, Walmart Canada is spending.
They'll be offered jobs. High store, really?
Will include.
Doesn't that sound horrible?
Inside Scarborough West Walmart Supercenter. Construction on that has already begun, and it'll see things like automated kiosks that will serve as vending machines for online grocery orders. Walmart stock will be lowered.
So I could just go to the damn store, hand you money, and walk out with stuff anyway, right?
Being a CEO sounds great, right? CEOs make about 320 times average worker salary, but it can also be a deadly job. New research finds that CEOs can die up to 1.5 years earlier when their companies are at risk of being taken over. I'm looking at the birth and death rates.
Now talk about Rogers taking over Shaw.
Study found that anti-takeover laws significantly increase the life expectancy of a chief executive officer by up to 2 years. All right, we're coming up here to the end of the trading day, and the TSX and the Dow and the S&P are set to go out of fresh records. TSX is up 104 points, 18,956. Big winner, Shaw Communications up more than 42%, trading right at $34. In a offer from Rogers Communications, Rogers planning to acquire Shaw for $20.4 billion. We got Rogers Class B stock higher by 3.3% at $61.56. 680 is the parent, or Rogers is the parent company at 680. Up the Dow right now up 172 points. The S&P's up 23. The NASDAQ up 130. The closing bell with the top stories are next on 680 News.
Food deliveries, online shopping, and homeschooling. Mom, I can't log in. It never ends. We're juggling mortgage and credit cards, all without Tim's income. You wonder how we do it? We don't. We can't afford the payments. Somebody help us.
New Borrow will help. Use low interest rates and the rising equity in your home to refinance your mortgage and save thousands.
Use your home to get a loan.
How about I have one of my boys bring you a package and you flip it off the front porch and drop that money on it.
Of Ontario. Are you tired of waiting in lines, trying to spend as little time out and about as possible? Cameron's Brewing has the solution for you. I'm Clint Israel, president of Cameron's in Oakland.
So we have 1,100 plus cases of variants. It is 1,100 something and 1. 1,100 and what was it? 81, 61. Someone gave me chicken and rice. I already ate it. It's gone.
Now, 680 News regional weather conditions for Walmart.
Walmart is saying hello to spring with so many rollbacks on everyday essentials. Save $2 on a 2.5 kilogram bag of Miller's Pride flour. Now $1.97 at Walmart. And Markham clear at -7 degrees. Oakville clear at -5. Downtown Toronto sunny and a wind chill reading of -8. And the News Watch never stops. 680 News, the CFTR AM Toronto. It's 4 o'clock.
Toronto's #1 for breaking news, traffic, and weather. This is 680 News.
Good afternoon. It's Monday, March 15th. I'm James Monroe.
I'm still Jana Timmons. Here are the top stories right now.
We are now in wave 3. That's the message from the Ontario Hospital Association.
But we're not, according to
officials aren't calling it just yet.
It's too soon to say if Toronto is in its 3rd wave of COVID, according to the city's top doctor. But our choices.
Well, she's all focused on emphasizing.
Let's finish strong.
The launch of an online and telephone booking system leaves many hanging, but tens of thousands of Ontarians 80 and older now have vaccination appointments.
The Blue Jays pick up a 4-0 win over the Tigers in Grapefruit League play, and we have some NHL action kicking off this hour. Sports at 15.
There's the closing bell. We got another record close for the Dow and for the TSX. Bay Street up 100 points. Shaw Communications closing up 41%. Business at 26.
680 News Time 401.
Traffic and weather together on the ones. Christine Lagos.
This report is brought to you by Thornhill Toyota. We have a crash northbound on the 400 approaching King Road. It's affecting the left shoulder. There's a lot of it, as well as a piece of the right lane. It's jammed from north of Major Mackenzie to approaching King Road on the northbound 400. You might want to use Jane or Weston Road instead. On the westbound 401 at the 412, there's a chair on the left shoulder, so please watch out for that. And then just general busyness westbound 401, Allen Express and Collectors to Dixon, Wisdom Pure Ontario Express, Mavis Collectors to approaching Mississauga Road.
That means the software is on your system and you don't know how to get it off.
400 Express and Collectors. And now on the eastbound 401 east of Keel Express, we have a stalled vehicle in the right shoulder. A heavy tow is on scene. It's both the Keel and the Collectors, Allen to Bayview Express, the Young to Leslie Collectors, and from Brock Road to east of Salem. Already heavy north on the Don Valley 404 from approaching Gerrard to north of Lawrence, Highway 7 to north of 16th. Leaving downtown, westbound Gardner Queenie is slow DVP to west of Strawn, Ford Drive to west of Guelph Line. It's also slow on the eastbound QEW from Trafalgar to Ford Drive. North and southbound Warden, south of the 401, the right lanes are blocked off because of a collision. Northbound very slow from north of Lawrence, and southbound is jammed from the 401. Thornhill Toyota has a rich history. You can be part of it with lease or finance rates now.
So does the Ku Klux Klan. That don't mean nothing.
It's time to Toyota at Thornhill Toyota, Dufferin, north of Steeles.
Toyota.
Rich
history of Toyota.
Oh, those temperatures.
I don't think you picked the right
slightly below
words.
seasonal. Tonight we're down to -4. Tomorrow morning it'll be a wind chill of -8. Overcast tomorrow, so not a whole lot of sunshine, and we have some flurries through the second half of the day. Could even squeeze out a couple of ice pellets, so don't be surprised if you hear that banging off your
Is it either
windshield.
gonna be
2
rain
degrees will
or
be the high,
snow?
and then tomorrow night risk of freezing drizzle.
Don't be
which could make
surprised
things
if you
icy.
hear it off your
Tonight down
windshield.
below
What about
-4,
seeing it?
currently
If it's a
-2,
windshield,
wind chill
you're gonna have your
-8
eyes
at
open,
Pearson.
right?
680 News Time 403.
Breaking news from the Ontario Hospital Association. It says due to rising case numbers of variants and increased ICU occupancy, they've declared we're in a third wave of COVID infection.
Thank you.
Reaction from both the city's top doctor and the chief medical officer for Ontario.
That's where we begin our coverage with 680's Michelle Mackey. Michelle.
So, Jana, the province's top doctor is not taking as strong of a stance as the Ontario Hospital Association. Instead, Dr. David Williams says it's still too soon to know for sure that we're in the midst
Friday
of
the
a third
13th and
wave.
Monday the
We could
16th when
be,
they
I would say,
declared the
we
shit last
are
year.
into that base of a third wave. What does that mean? How big it is? That's to be determined.
The Ontario Hospital Association, however, does say we are now in wave 3, citing new data from Ontario's COVID-19 Science Advisory Table.
A year
that
ago, it'll
indicates
go
the
and
more
it'll
transmissible
spiral through the
variants of
community.
concern
Every time you
now
go,
account
I'm
for nearly
okay.
half of
Yeah,
reported
Till it
cases
comes
of
back again for
COVID-19
you,
in the province.
stupid.
The OHA writes on Twitter, with new variant of concern cases steeply rising and the ICU numbers trending up, nearing 350 today. Strong adherence to public health measures is urgently needed to prevent overwhelming hospitals. Reporting live, I'm Michelle Mackey.
This is All News Radio 680 News. So not everyone's ready to declare a third wave. That includes the top doc for the city of Toronto. 680's Mark Douglas joins us live with the latest from Dr. Eileen Davila. Mark.
James, Toronto's top doctor, had the same answer to two big questions today. Is the city now in its third wave of COVID, and is another lockdown coming?
It's a little early to say.
But Dr. Eileen Davila says we have a great deal of control when it comes to the spread of the variants. And yes, it's the same old health and safety protections she knows everyone is tired of hearing.
We know this is a tough ask. You know,
What do you do?
limit your
Everyone's tired of
interactions to the
hearing it.
greatest
None of you
extent
wants to
possible.
deal with this problem. We
Practice
do,
the
right?
measures
But
for
you're the ones
self-protection.
spreading it, and we're
Get
the ones
your
telling you to
vaccine when your
stop.
turn becomes available. And we will soon see ourselves, on the other side of this.
But Davila also
Say that
points
again,
out the latest
stupid.
cell phone
The
data
beginning of
measure
the
for
sentence and the end of the
Torontonians staying at
sentence
home.
didn't link
That's
together
gone down to
properly.
about 78%. And people here are boundary hopping into regions with lighter COVID restrictions.
So?
She says controlling the variants will have to be a personal choice each of us makes.
Let's aim for a good summer. Let's finish strong.
Reporting
A
live,
good
I'm Mark
summer.
Douglas.
The winter's horrible.
The
You're not
province is
from
reporting
here,
more than
stupid.
1,200 new cases of COVID-19 today as it launches its online booking system amid plenty of complaints. Here's 6 City's Alex Bloomfield.
A few problems hindering the launch of the province-wide vaccine booking system. Many reporting an error screen with the message the form has been tampered with. Others unable to speak to a phone operator for several hours. Premier Ford says he's happy there wasn't an overall crash, and the Ministry of Health.
It's the Union of Socialist Canadian Provinces. They told you the website's going to break because of you. Everyone who logs in gets the same, oh, you have to call on the phone number message. It's not a real website. It's not real.
375 calls a minute at 1-888-999-6488. Ford again urging the federal government to expedite vaccine deliveries. He says the province now has the capacity to give out 4.8 million doses per month, but only has the supply for 1.4 million. I'm Alex Bloomfield.
And you don't have the capacity, stupid. It's all theoretical.
Won't be sticking around much longer. Premier Ford says the contract for retired General Rick Hillier is set to run out at the end of the month.
What you should be doing is setting aside 2/3 of your workforce for later. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to make them all sick at once. Hey, how close together are the terminals at this call center?
And communities across the province to take the bull.
Toronto's notorious for call centers.
Hillier said June
You
20th
get
was the goal to get everyone at least the first shot.
telemarketing fraud calls.
Depends on
Probably half of them come from Toronto.
A conservative MPP is facing criticism for being
Half the ones
affiliated
from
with a group
India
that
come from
compares
Toronto
abortion to the
companies.
Holocaust. 6 City's Phil Martino joins us live with the latest. Phil.
So, Jenna, MPP Sam Osterhoff is scheduled to headline an anti-abortion event for university students Wednesday
I
called
like Dougie's
Gen Z
response to this
Challenging
one.
Abortion in Politics. The virtual event is being organized in collaboration with National Campus Life Network, which recently posted on its Twitter feed that making abortions an early priority is the same as Hitler, who made it an early priority to kill Jews. Premier Doug Ford says nothing should be compared to the Holocaust.
But I'll be speaking to Sam tonight.
Well, don't change the
Ontario's
words,
Liberal
you
Party
fucking
leader,
whore. He said it. You changing it and saying it yourself.
He says any
Fucking
comparison
retarded.
like that is completely
Love the
reprehensible, and he
creative
tells me
input.
Osterhoff
Rogers
should
puts
not
into
be
everything.
participating in the virtual event he's set to headline.
Nelson Mandela said some shit today.
There's only one solution. Sam should either resign from his position or he should
Churchill said some crap today. They're just talking French.
Yeah, I just don't understand how
Where's that guy?
one person gets
Was he trying to get fired?
consistently show this kind of bizarre and inappropriate judgment.
Osterhoff's judgment has been called into question before. Last October, he was pictured maskless and not socially distancing, and he was criticized for attending an anti-abortion rally at Queen's Park in 2019. We have reached out to his office, but so far, no comment. Phil
You will
Martino,
have that
6
child we put in you because we said something we're in charge, right? And then these same assholes, if you happen to be the product of rape, we'll put you down for that. It's the same assholes.
Over the weekend, after a meme spread through the subreddit Wall Street Bets, it resulted in members symbolically adopting the animals en masse. Since Saturday, many users have been putting their money into the Diane Fossey Gorilla Fund, which has received more than $265,000 from Wall Street Bets members. Of course, the message board is typically dedicated to financial trading and is at the center of the stock market frenzy surrounding GameStop and other companies. But this has had a social bent right from the get-go. Back at GameStop's peak in January, many of these Redditors...
The corollary here is you did nothing about HIV.
Now, track gas next. Your news.
Right now.
But you claim to care about these animals.
Before and after COVID-19.
Doesn't matter.
News.
So this is where people are really at their wits' end, especially when their business is obviously just hanging on for dear life. You know, I was kind of curious when I was hearing the news about Rogers going to purchase, if the regulatory body gives them the green light, and it'll take
This is a
at least
different
year to
company.
sort this
680
thing
is
out.
owned by Rogers. This one isn't.
For $26 billion, they would purchase Shaw and the assets. And I guess that includes Freedom Mobile, because they made the promise that they would not increase those people's rates, because it was cut rate, right? That was how Shaw competed on that level, the wireless realm, and lower rates. They would not raise them for 3 years. And the subtext to that is, and then look out. Well, you know, I'm looking at this. They say they're going to create a $1 billion rural and indigenous fund, going to lower the rates for seniors in ill-served communities. This is all the stuff they're trying to really suck up to the regulators. That's just a given. That's how it works, right? Say all the right things, the regulator swallows it, and away they go. So they get to more or less continue to narrow the field of players in the telco realm and monopolize. It'll really be more or less a monopoly. Them, Bell, who are the other ones? Tell us.
Is that your only line? It's a monopoly. It's a monopoly.
Story, and I guess this was on
CBC's
investigative program. That
you won't even tear apart the cable industry or anything else. How much damage these people do on native land and every other goddamn thing.
For example, during the pandemic, were ill-served by this media giant because while they were in lockdown and couldn't have contact with anybody, and in some cases, there's one cited here by a Ms. Davis up in Ottawa, who, I guess in the throes of dementia, didn't need her internet anymore. Basic cable, okay, so the family retained that just so she'd have some company kind of in the background, but the other stuff she didn't need. And so she didn't return the phone and internet equipment because her home was under lockdown. Her own family couldn't visit her. I mean, they put in the call to, I guess, a techie or somebody who was going to pick up the equipment. He never showed, not allowed in.
That's
Makes
not
sense.
why. Rogers Techs, first of all, they're all subcontractors. They're the most evil people in the world.
Get to the equipment, she couldn't send the equipment out. Perhaps
Lazy dude. There's pieces of fucking coax cable all over the roof right now because they run it from the 22nd floor to the 2nd floor, hanging off the outside of the building. I'm not joking. 20 floors of cable just hanging off. And it blows around in these winds, which are about 80 kilometers an hour right now.
Care facility, you don't return the equipment. You're on the meter, and they charge you, and they did to her big time. A bill for more than $450 by middle of summer, and now it's grown to almost $565.
If you're not in your right mind,
my daughter who lives in Kingston,
there's nothing they can do.
Rogers had no room for consideration or compassion, and their answer was the abrupt sort of corporate speak: return the equipment or pay the penalty. And again, I stress, when you've got a long-term.
Why would you deal with Rogers?
It's currently -2, wind
At
chill
all. I've been
-7 at
watching them do this shit since about the
Dynamic Funds
mid-90s.
Market Minutes, the Business Center, Richie.
It's the same way they charge income tax in this country. You keep paying it, so they keep asking for it. And then you come out with the rhetoric that you paid for this and you paid for that, and the government stays silent because you didn't. The money you pay in taxes goes to them. The money they spend on infrastructure and everything else is borrowed. It doesn't come from you. And they steal a shitload from the Indian Capital Trust accounts.
The Dow
And
goes
you
out at a
brag
record
about how you paid for
174 points. The S&P up 25. The Nasdaq up 139. Canadian dollar, it's marginally higher at 80.13 cents US. James and Slajana with your headlines next on 680 News.
Being active is better than being reactive. Dynamic Funds doesn't just
I guess I got nothing for you. Shit.
Active management.
It sounded important when I woke up here with it.
.ca/advice.
Express your home in a whole new way with KitchenAid appliances and eat.
Okay, let's go over this again. 1,100 something cases of variants. Was that Ontario or Canada? Or I think we've been reporting like 1,000 cases a day. So that's got to be Canada's numbers. 1,100. What have they been telling us? The numbers of the VOCs are, which I don't like using the VCs, the variants of concern, the variants of COVID. VOC stands for volatile organic compounds. So again, they're going to dilute. When you try searching for volatile organic compounds, you're going to come up with this shit. It's 3 weeks behind the testing on that. And this whole time they keep saying, well, we're going to wait and see what happens. We're going to wait and see what happens. Oh, it's up to all of us. It's up to all of us to make an individual decision. What the fuck does that mean? You're right. It is my decision whether I want to get sick or not. The problem is the charter says your rights cannot outweigh somebody. You can't enjoy your rights if it means crushing somebody else's. Which is the only reason these people have the authority to do what they're doing in terms of public health and pandemic control, epidemic control. I won't talk about none of this.
Sunny skies in downtown Toronto, -2 feels like -7. Good afternoon.
Yeah, that's about right.
I'm still Janet Timinzik. Here are the top stories right now.
With breaking news from the Ontario Hospital Association, it says Ontario is now in a third wave. New data shows variants.
Remember, an association is a club for businesses. You may not realize this, but all the hospitals here are businesses.
To my mind, it's still early to say.
To my mind.
All that, long wait times and error messages, just some of the hiccups on day one of the provincial vaccine booking portal going live. Premier says more than 45,000 people, 80 and over, have grabbed a spot, and they're working the butts out.
do I do? Go find a spliff somewhere and...
Ce soir, le gardien numéro 1 du Canadien, Carey Price, va obtenir un 5e départ en 6 matchs. Il va être entre les poteaux ce soir au Canadien.
You through one of life's big moments, and it only takes a phone call to get started. Keep what you need and sell everything else in as little as 14 days. With MaxSold, call 1-800-960-2244.
Hi, I'm Sherry
So one of this is Zoomer, 7:40 a.m. Moses Neimer's last holding in the media world, broadcast media world. Some of the shows they have, you know, the old coins and weird odds and ends, whatever that might be worth shitloads of money, and you know, all these people calling up say, I got this thing from way back when I've been hanging on to. There's some real history, and it's all on fucking AM radio. They don't podcast it or nothing.
Prepared, you're protected. Look after yourself.
Shaq Barrett is staying with the Tampa.
They don't give you a break. I mean, you might get some government help, but that's help in order to pay for these utilities. So is it fair to put the onus then on these companies? Look, it's a little different with the woman in the long-term care facility up in Ottawa because she was not in a position to return the equipment for them to continue to charge her and that she was on the meter. It's just outrageous. And from what I understand, they've rectified the situation, but she wasn't alone in that regard. How they could have even imposed this or continued to impose it after the family notified them.
Hey,
He's a black guy.
If you defraud a collection agency, it's still fraud. If you sell the same debt to two different collection agencies, that's fraud. That's what Rogers does.
Maybe you
they tried telling me I had to pay an extra fee to turn my phone on.
Is it appropriate?
But they turned it off just because they felt like it.
Because COVID's been
you talk, so if I give you this money, you'll turn it back on. No, that's just a fee. Oh, okay. So I didn't, because I'm not paying you extra because you turned my phone off. I should pay you a fee to turn it back on. That's stupid. They sold the debt. They jacked up the debt to $498 and then sold it twice. So every time I check my credit report, there's two different collection agencies reporting the same debts.
And could maybe the government show a little more latitude or lassitude and open things up?
Dumb enough to sign up with Rogers and try to buy a house, you're not going to be able to
18 past the hour, the game to the roads we go on a check and chopper traffic. Ari Rabinovich.
Vaccine is causing blood clots. In fact, to continue using it despite the concerns. The fears are based on a few dozen people developing blood clots out of the millions who have received the shot.
Fears are based on.
Europe is not from the same batch as the
you called it a fear, and then you're telling us what it's based on. No, fact is people are getting blood clots. You got 4 different countries saying you get blood clots from this one.
Most of the new vaccines will come from Pfizer.
This jackass is taking it upon himself to explain away that it's just your feelings.
The Canada-U.S. border will reopen anytime soon. Trudeau says that discussion is not for today. That people on both sides of the border will have to keep waiting for the pandemic to calm down. Next week marks a year since the Canada-U.S. border closed to non-essential travel. And with case numbers declining, the number of vaccinations on the rise, air travel stateside appears to be picking up.
Over the past 4 days, the TSA reporting almost 4 million.
Bearing in mind, it's not a business or industry. Not one of these companies produces a profit.
The last time that happened was before pandemic lockdowns last year. Delta's CEO is saying bookings began picking up a couple of weeks ago and that March is very close to break-even cash burn, even with the airline blocking middle seats. Alex Stone,
because blocking the middle seat changes something when you all do it. Hey, you know what you do? You charge 50% more for the other 2 seats, stupid. That's what you do.
Study into the We Charity, nothing short of a political trial. In his opening statement to the House of Commons,
somehow charging the same amount of money and being 1/3 lighter is costing them more.
The children's charity.
The government hid behind a children's charity by letting it take the fall for their.
By the way, this is Feed the Children. The We Charity, they refuse to mention this in the media. It's Feed the Children Canada. They changed the name right before they did this. That's why nobody knows what they're talking about. Oh, we've been in business 25 years. Like, I never fucking heard of you. That's why I never heard of it. What's it called?
Operations and structure, as well as the since canceled agreement to manage a
That's
federal
because these idiots are always stealing from us. What's that stand for? They don't know.
Get everything you need.
Oh, that was horrible.
And it's not like I'm at risk. We don't see many people, just a few neighbors and close friends. It's fine. We wear a mask and everything. We're really careful.
excuses won't stop the spread of the deadly COVID-19 virus. Until we all get the vaccine, stay home as much as possible. Visit ontario.ca/COVID-19 for more information. Paid for by the Government of Ontario.
Elevators. They're not something we give much thought to. But when they're not operating correctly, it can cause serious disruptions. That's why
$100,000 with affordable terms and no application fees. It's quick, easy, and 100% online. Apply now at bdc.ca/online loan. BDC. Financing, advising, smarts.
6 City News Time 421.
Traffic and weather together, Christine.
This report is brought to you by Foodland, Ontario. Northbound 400 approaching King Road. This collision is now blocking the left shoulder and right shoulder. We still have emergency crews on scene and a delay northbound 400 from approaching Major Mackenzie, but no live lanes are blocked at this time. On the eastbound 401, it's slow through Mississauga Road, 427 to the 400 Express and Collectors, through Keel Collectors, Allen to Leslie, alternately Express and Collectors. In the Durham region, eastbound 401 is heavy Brock Road to east of Salem, and then approaching Harmony, we have a collision in the right lane, so expect a minor delay. Westbound 401 is slow from the Allen Express, 400 Collectors to Dixon, west of here Ontario Express and Mavis Collectors to approaching Mississauga Road. It's a slow drive north on the Don Valley 404 from Gerrard to north of Lawrence, from Highway 7 to north of 16th. Leaving downtown, westbound Gardner is slow DVP to west of Strawn. On the westbound QEW ramp to Ford Drive, a police investigation is taking place. They blocked off the right lane. It's slow from Ford Drive to west of Dorval, approaching Burloak to west of Guelph Line. And northbound 410 filling in from Steeles to north of Queen, and it's slow on the eastbound QEW from Dorval to Ford Drive. We still have a crash affecting north and southbound Warden south of the 401, left lane blocked each way. Foodland Ontario reminds you to enjoy local all winter. Look and ask for Ontario chicken when you shop. After all, good things grow in Ontario, paid for by the Government of Ontario. Your next report is at 4:31. Now with the forecast, here's Natasha Ramsahai.
Our super mild and sunny
You're
this
gonna pay
weekend,
to advertise this stuff, while the feds pay to throw it in the river. You guys are fucking geniuses how you run this food security.
And then tomorrow is overcast. Now the first half of the day is dry, but we'll get into some flurries, even a couple of ice pellets thrown in there for good measure through the afternoon, a high of 2 degrees. Now Tuesday night, it looks like that low cloud is going to sit over Toronto and give us some freezing drizzle into Wednesday morning. So watch for some icy conditions. And then we'll be back to the sun through Wednesday afternoon and a high of 7. Cloudy Thursday and a high of 9. Could see some rain from Hamilton over to Niagara Falls. Tonight down to a low of -4. It's currently -2 degrees, wind chill -7 at Pearson.
Coming up at the bottom of the hour, breaking news from the Ontario Hospital Association. It says Ontario is now into a third wave of COVID infections. We'll see what Toronto's top doctor and the top doctor for Ontario think. This is 680 News.
A visit to your Markville Toyota family is the perfect way to get ready for spring. They're taking every precaution to keep you safe when you pop in.
Oh, let's go.
Plus, you can still make it a virtual visit and buy a car from home at markville.com. It's like they say, family takes care of family. Right now, you can lease or finance select models from as low as 0% or get cash saving incentives up to $4,500. It's time to Toyota at Markville Toyota, located in the heart of Markham, Highway 7, just east of McCowan.
You're listening
To 680 News.
This portion of the news brought to you by the Herzig Eye Institute. For the first time, nominations for next month's Academy Awards have gone to 2 female filmmakers.
Hollywood loves movies about Hollywood, and that's very prevalent this year with the David Fincher movie Mank about the making of Citizen Kane, leading the way with 10 nominations, including Best Picture. Other Best Picture noms include The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Minari, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and The Trial of the Chicago 7. But as usual, CNN's Nichelle Turner says the talk is about what's been left out.
A couple big surprises, though, for me this morning. No Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, when both of the lead actors in that movie were nominated for Academy Awards this morning. Viola Davis and actress Chadwick Boseman.
As usual, this woman is saying something. That's how poor your sentence structure is. As usual, she's got something to say. Really, so all your news comes from just watching her, huh? I can't listen. You people all brag about your education.
I'm
dominant in your languages, and now I need to speak it.
Hi, I'm Cherry.
Don't you hate finding out you're getting corrected at your native language by a non-native speaker?
Posting and sharing about our safety, our staff, and our surgeons. Our people inspire me. Let them inspire you to free yourself from glasses, contact lenses, and
use, but you pay for it. And if you don't pay, they have their prerogative of billing whatever they want. Because effectively, there's not enough competition, I guess. This is why the regulators are looking into this overtaking of Shaw by Rogers in the $26 billion
I don't know if you know this. Cable companies have complete monopolies.
Telecom field, and especially
you don't get a choice. You have the cable company or no cable.
Why we're paying probably the highest rates.
Not enough competition.
Hey, what did you have to say about the gray market satellite dish industry, bro?
Hello, John. A great day for talk radio.
Yep.
I have to be in complete opposite viewpoint of that last caller because I've had some personal experience with Rogers customer service lately during COVID-19 because our digital box isn't working properly and they won't send someone out to the apartment to check on it because of the stay-at-home order.
Those boxes buzz nonstop.
Giving credits where due. The thing with Rogers you have to understand is when you get your bill,
buzz and click and pop nonstop. Turn off everything else in the room and leave that running. Go stand next to it. You can't hear it. There's something wrong with your ears.
You're eloquent, polite, and
like the what do they call them? Cricket or grasshopper or whatever fucking
ringtones. As a customer, so you'd be surprised how many credits and how much slack they'll cut you. But you can't let the bill go without keeping an eye on it and making sure you're not being overcharged. You just have to keep in touch with it.
That's another thing. I've compared the bills every month. It's $5 or $10 higher with no explanation where the other money came from. It's not itemized properly.
If you treat them
people that are on a 3-year plan, every month it goes up $5 or $10. No explanation.
This was the thing. It fell through the cracks. The elderly woman up there in Ottawa.
They'll rent you an HD box,
telephone and internet equipment, and she was.
Then they'll charge you a fee for using HD.
So,
yeah, even if you have your own. Or sorry, they'll charge you a fee for using PVR. You have your own PVR, and they find out they will charge you a $5 fee for it.
Good afternoon, Joe.
Good afternoon.
This person did not have any HD channels or an HD TV. They're sorry, they didn't have an HD TV set technically.
On my moving day, on my first house,
they're paying $12 a month.
Radio floor heating. Rogers came to install my cable and internet. The technician decided to drill from the inside of the house to the outside to run the cable. He didn't bother to measure from the floor up. Drilled right through the main power coming off my mast, going into my fuse panel.
How the fuck did you do that?
Breaker panel. They melted the siding of my house. They refused to talk to me while I was there. 9 technicians were there along with a supervisor.
Permission.
5 vehicles.
You're responsible, not them.
Give me a work order number.
As soon as you have a contract with one of these companies, they have an easement to come to your house.
Spent hours and weeks talking to the office of the presidents of Rogers. It got to the point where they told me
this girl in my life from a long time ago,
calling the police due to
long story short, made it all the way to the top floor.
Wow. And they melted the side of your house when the guy drilled through and he hit the main.
He had a cordless drill with a long bit. And like I said, all he had to do was measure off the finished floor and then go outside and drill in. He would have known exactly where that power line. He decided to eyeball. So
I'm just surprised he didn't get fried himself.
The wall and not to say that the only reason he didn't is because he had a cordless drill with a rubber handle system on it. That's the only thing that saved him.
Wow.
And when I asked for them to give me any kind of proof that they were there that day, I need an invoice and everything else. Even the technicians on site told me to stay away, that they feel threatened, and they'll call the police on me. I never got nothing from Rogers, and I never ever used Rogers since.
So it was never resolved to your satisfaction.
Never ever. I had so much trouble with them that it was so frustrating on my day of moving into my new home. It was never ever the same. It was never ever the same.
No wonder there's a hole in your fucking.
I appreciate your call, Jim and Georgina. All the best to you. And this is a case where it's not necessarily just gratuitously corporate.
My name's Hudson. I'm here at Hudson's Bay.
In the case, if you've had any similar involvements, like this woman, the demand that she return the internet and phone equipment and didn't because she wasn't in a position to do so, but they kept billing her. Is that something that happens, just falls through the cracks? Big corporations, bureaucracies, perhaps they're lacking in that human element. Until it's brought to their attention. And so in some cases, boy, companies get too big and too successful
Without looking at what might be inside or on the other side of the wall.
Casual attitude, they can offend a customer here and there.
You think I'm joking when they say they do the same thing here? They hang the wires at the side of the building all the way down, 22 floors. Just hanging, blowing in the wind. It's not attached all the way along or anything.
Okay, Sam.
They won't run it internally.
Go ahead.
I used to be thin, but now I can't.
$9.95 a month. For some reason, these people are getting these cable packages.
All right.
They're not paying them.
Okay,
And
Rogers, Bell, I don't care who it
it's
is.
been about 8 hours running each line. Oh yeah, but they don't come do them all at once.
So,
One today, one
on
tomorrow.
my Rogers phone,
What these guys are? Oh, overdose.
and TV. When I started off with them, my TV started particling. And I was told by Rogers, the people that came here to fix it, oh, our signal's too strong coming into the building here, into the condo.
Fuck off.
So they went away, worked for 2 days. Again. Anyway, in the accounting section, I like a paper record, and I pay for that. I've not received on my phone a paper record for over a year now. I don't want it electronically. I don't want anything served to me electronically. Their stores used to go to the corner store right around me. They used to have the kiosk where you could pay your bill. Very handy, convenient. They took that away. Bell. Rogers had 2 accounts running on my phone until I made a little bit of an investigation. Why is my cell phone bill so high? And they said, well, it's for your second phone. I said, I don't have a second phone. Tell me what second phone I have. And that totaled $500. And then I had to argue with them, well, we'll give you a credit for that. So you won't have a cell phone bill for a year. I said, no, send me the cash for that. I don't care if I get a cell phone bill. Okay? So I had to have an argument. Bell, I changed my service with Bell because I only like certain channels. I don't need 1,000 channels. I like TV. I was talking to your guy that takes the calls there first. He and I are under the same agreement. TVO, I like the documentary channels and everything like that. And I don't want the learning channel ever since it went to Honey Boo Boo. So I pay my bill. It comes right out of my bank account, right?
See what happens when you
I get a phone call from Bell. We're going to be cutting you off if you don't pay your bill. I said, what are you talking about? You withdraw the money every month. And they said, you haven't made a payment. I said, you take it out of my bank. What are you understanding? So I go over to the TD bank, got the branch manager. He says, he's made it. It's an automatic withdrawal. What's the figure? Right? Well, on getting my new channels, they changed me to another account. So the money was flowing into that account number, which they opened up. I didn't even know I had a new account. And here's the pile of money sitting in the other account. So who's talking to who?
Yeah. All right. This is a game, big corporations, nameless, faceless bureaucrats, and stuff is falling through the cracks. I'm going to take one more real fast.
They're not nameless and faceless.
You're on the Oprah Show. Good afternoon, Bill.
Good afternoon, John. What a pleasure. I've had a terrible time with Rogers. I'm in a retirement home. That's sponsored, owned by York Region. Rogers has a monopoly on it because Bell has told me that. I've had Bell here. They say, we can't touch that place. Rogers basically owns it. He said, you'll have to take it up with York Region. They're still fumbling around trying to figure out what the situation is. In the meantime, Rogers more than doubled my bill when they forced this Intech TV, this new technology, just before the beginning of the pandemic. And I had no choice, and they told me that. They said, oh, but don't worry, it'll be better and bigger and faster and more wonderful, and it's not going to cost you any more. The first bill they sent me was double what I was used to paying. So I took it in one of their stores prior to the pandemic that were still open, and one of the clerks working in a Rogers store agreed with me because I took the 13-page bill with me. They said, yeah, they've mistakenly eliminated your so-called bundle, the TV, internet, and home phone. They shouldn't have done that. And there was about 3 other things. And they said, but we can't change it. We are not allowed to make any billing adjustments. You'll have to call one of our concierge 800 numbers. So I started doing that.
If they asked me once, they'd ask me 5 times what my name, address, etc. was, my account number, etc. And I said, look, you've pulled my bill up. You've seen for 9 months when I first moved in here, I paid the bill in full, on time, month after month. They said, yeah, you sure did for 9 months. Then I said, when you force this new system on me through your own doing, it's more than triple. So I gave up, and since then, they've just been sending bill after bill with late charges, late payment, you name the penalties that they've dreamt up. I have no idea. It's up to about $1,000 now. And they apparently have ruined my credit rating. Now I'm at the age I don't need that anymore. I won't be buying a house or a car. So I'm using their bills as toilet paper.
I mean, these old dudes get along.
Well, you're getting some use out of it then. Listen, I gotta let you run, Bill, but I thought I'd give you the last word on this one. Excuse me, just to get it off your chest. Enough said. We'll leave it at that. I just wanted to know if there are people who are feeling they're ill-served during a time of pandemic, specifically. But then it opens up the whole field of people's complaints. I think you got to take it to the company. They need an ombudsman. I'm sure they've got one, but boy, give him an earful or her an earful. When we come back, somebody else who wanted to get it off their chest, we'll be talking to the owner of an athletic club in Sarnia. He's going to defy the provincial orders, and he might have some company in that regard. That's in moments here on the Oakley Show. Global News Radio 640 Toronto.
With the Daily Grand Auto, you can win
We're just going to do what we want.
Wait, every single day?
Yeah.
So I'd start liking Mondays?
Probably.
But everybody hates Mondays, so I'd suddenly be an outcast, living on the fringes of society, a bizarre Monday-loving weirdo.
But you get $1,000 every day for life.
Then TGIM, baby, and every other day, too.
Daily Grand Auto draws every Monday and Thursday. Buy tickets in store and online at olg.ca.
I'm with the Live Phil.
James, MPP Sam Osterhoff is scheduled to speak at an event this week called Gen Z Challenging Abortion in Politics. Now, this virtual event is being organized in collaboration with National Cannabis Life Network, which recently posted that making abortions an early priority is the same as Hitler made it an early priority.
No, explain to me what years it is and what country it
everyone
applies
has a
to.
right to believe in what they want, but comparing abortion to the Holocaust is just wrong.
Nothing should be compared to the Holocaust.
Thank you.
That's unique. But I'll be speaking to Sam tonight.
Ontario's Liberal Party leader Stephen Del Duca is calling for Osterhoff to be removed from his role as the Education Minister's parliamentary assistant.
Well, first of all, I think any comparison like that is completely reprehensible. I think Sam Osterhoff, throughout his political career, has consistently demonstrated very poor judgment. We all know that a number of months ago during the pandemic, he broke the rules of the protocols around the pandemic itself and was at an event and wasn't physically distanced and sort of wore masked.
In a statement, Osterhoff says, "I don't think anyone is surprised to know that I am pro-life. I've always been very clear where I stand when it comes to protecting the right to life." And he says, "While I respect everyone's right to hold and express their personal views,
You're more concerned about rapists passing on their DNA. That's birthright and blood rights, right?
Gas prices are next.
That's the only logical reason you could have that belief.
Make us number one for breaking news, traffic, and weather.
On your radio, online, and on your smart
And that's why they hate us. Our families want us to live.
Yet another reason to switch your alarm to the monitoring center.
Collision is in the process of clearing. The right lane is reopened. Still got some vehicles on the shoulders, but it is still busy there for now. Again, a delay from approaching Rutherford to King Road on that North 400. Westbound QEW at the off-ramp to Ford Drive. Right lane blocked here with some police activity causing a delay through the junction. And on the 410, we got new problems northbound at Courtney Park with a crash in the right lane and delays from the 401. Lease a 2021 Lexus NX300 for as low as $208 bi-weekly with delivery credits of up to $3,000. Visit LexusGTA.ca. I'm Ari Yervinovich, Global News Radio, 640 Toronto, shop for traffic.
On the road again.
Oakley Show. on Global News Radio 640 Toronto.
Did I get the wrong song?
Coming up before the hour is out, Diane Francis, editor-at-large of the Financial Post, making a case that it's time to drop the
Conrad Black, prison gang member. Oh, yes, he is. I've seen the photos.
Interview with Harry and Meghan, given a currency, I guess, but we'll find out why Diane has that frame of mind in the next hour, too. By the way, beware the Ides of March. This is the 15th of March, where Caesar bought it. 44 BC, everybody turned on him all of a sudden in the Senate. I'm going to talk to a professor of history and classics at Cornell University. He'll spell it all out, the death of Caesar. And how much, the thing that really surprises me is how well documented some of these stories are, going back over 2,000 years ago. Before we do that, though, let's get to, well, we might call it the death by 1,000 cuts, as it were. When it comes to operating a small business in Ontario, especially in regions that are under the gray category in lockdown, they can't open. Gyms are one such. And in Sarnia, there is an owner of a gym, Bill Van Hugenhuis, who says he's going to open nonetheless. It is Monday, and I guess this is where the lockdown starts. They're back out of the red. Let's find out exactly how that's being met in the community and by the enforcement officers. Bill, good to have you on the Oakley Show here in Toronto. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on because you have my sympathy. Believe it or not, there are a lot of us who feel that businesses should be allowed, at least in a limited capacity, to open. There seems to be great inconsistency when it comes to applying the rules here. Are you open today?
Yes, we are.
And is there any kind of blowback from the authorities, bylaw officers, the police?
This morning, I guess it was 10:30 a.m. We received a ticket, $1,130 for, the offense was failure to comply with continued Section 702 order. That's the amount.
Yeah, $1,130?
$1,130 this time. 2 weeks ago, I had an $880 fine.
Right. Are you willing to continue to incur these fines?
Well, I'm going to fight the fines in court. No, there's no way this is going to have any legal standing, that's for sure.
So have you been apprised of that by a lawyer? I mean, what's the argument then?
Well, the thing is, what does the government have as evidence? That's the issue. We don't have any evidence.
It's a summary conviction. It doesn't fucking matter.
Litigation from politicians at the whims of legislators. Ridiculous.
Well, yeah, I guess I'm not a legal expert in this regard, although it's been cited here that, there's something called Section 22 of the Provincial Health Protection and Promotions Act, where the local public health authorities can impose these shutdowns. Did your legal representation tell you anything about that?
Well, that'd be the case if it was legitimate, but it's not legitimate, is it?
I don't know. I'm, as I said, Bill, I'm not a legal expert in the matter. I'm just wondering how you're going to maybe stick handle your way around this. I don't want to see you incurring these fines, but by the same token, I'm very much sympathetic to the fact that you want to stay open because, what the hell do businesses do at this stage? We've been in lockdown. What is this now? The third go around, the second, we were into the second one.
The third go around.
Right.
We're right. Closed for 6 months.
What's the response been like in terms of other businesses in your community? Is there a show of sympathy and solidarity?
There's 2 other gyms in my area that are open also, so there's 3 of us.
Right. Do you feel that if there are enough people that do this,
I'm feeling this guy's got like a bandana over his face.
Or says you're getting a critical mass of people together on this fight?
There's the police bylaw and health officials are intimidating businesses. But if you know the law and you know that not to be intimidated, these fines can't stand up in court. It's totally insane, ludicrous, and that's where we're going to fight it in court. So my statement to the media was like all 3 levels of government, federal, provincial, and municipal, are targeting small businesses unlawful intimidation, unlawful fines, unlawful arrest and detention, using medical fraud and institutional discrimination as a preferred choice of criminal behavior. Charter rights and freedoms have the right. We have the right to employment and to
This is why I started the video.
For us and our families,
even when I'm not sure.
Cannot be undermined by criminal government. So it's extremely frustrating for myself and my wife, which is undergoing, she's terminal cancer, and I'm a caregiver. And after I spend time at the club, I have to go home and take care of her and get 2 hours sleep and come back and work, and it's very stressful.
Understood. How about members? Are the members willing to?
And the provincial government thinks they're going to tackle this guy. This guy's a soldier.
Following concerning. I can't believe how many people are signing up. Even though they said we probably won't use the club, but we're going to sign up and we're going to support you any way we can. So this is tremendous, encouraging behavior from the general public. I'm really thrilled about it, and I have no intention of closing the facility.
Is there a fundraiser in your behalf?
Yes, there is. There's a GoFundMe that's help is going to be helping out with legal fines, I'm sure.
Can only wish you the best. I mean, so many other people can live vicariously through your situation because, you know, in Toronto, we're in lockdown as well, similar predicament, and people are climbing the walls. So, Bill, I just wanted to touch base and see how you're handling affairs there. It'll be very interesting to watch how this one works if it goes through the legal system. And as you say, you're contesting it. But thanks for sharing the story with us, and all the best to you and your wife. Very much sympathetic, and hopefully we're all out of this sooner rather than later, one way or the other. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you very much.
Again, Bill Van Hugenhuis, owner of Sharky's Athletic Club in Sarnia. At the top. Sarnia. Wow. And yet, how many people can relate to that directly here? And now we're being told by Eileen DeVille and others that we could be in for a third wave. And the variants now rearing their heads in ICUs. The number's around 3. Well, it's around 300 yesterday. They're saying closer to 350 today. And that's one of those thresholds that has the alarm bells ringing for the medical authorities. We'll leave that. We'll come back in a moment. Diane France is going to weigh in, editor-at-large of the Financial Post, as to whether or not we ought to drop the Queen as Canada's head of state. Next here on The Oprah Show, Global News Radio, 640 Toronto.
WiseTech Group offers a one-stop solution to the IT needs of your business.
A proactive approach to providing reliable managed IT services.
WiseTech Group offers migrating to cloud solutions.
Talk to WiseTech Group today about security and backup.
With unparalleled service from their help desk support.
Listen right here, Sunday mornings at 11, as WiseTech Group presents the IT Support Show. Visit the website, itsupportshow.com.
The right mix of products, no matter your sleep style. So whether you're a sprawler, a spooner,
inclut cette expression très française dans nos chansons. Et je crois que le monde est beau si l'amour existe. Et le premier jour, grâce à toi et grâce à tout le monde pour parler avec moi aujourd'hui.
Alors, le monde est plus beau et la francophonie est plus belle grâce à vous deux, Jill Barber et Yao. Grand merci d'avoir été avec nous. Puis, Jill, on se reprendra pour une communication plus convaincante la prochaine fois quand les lignes téléphoniques seront meilleures. On a eu trop peu de temps avec vous, mais on était ravis de vous accueillir. Merci, Jill Barber. Grand merci, Yao.
Merci à vous. Merci pour l'invitation.
Voici Jill Barber.
Merci. Bonne journée. Je vois les étoiles dans tes yeux. Je vois tout le ciel. Ils sont grands bleus. Chaque
twinkles in my eyes. Hey, you're crazy.
Tes bras, les oiseaux chantent.
People have developed blood clots. Health Canada, European regulators, and the World Health Organization all say there's no evidence the vaccine is to blame, and the chief scientist at the WHO is advising countries to continue using it.
So the bodies that those federal governments resist say to ignore those federal governments.
Committed to at least 1 million doses each week.
Keep taking the thing because our experiment doesn't get justified if you don't. If you study the medical society, you'll understand what I'm talking about. As soon as you ask a doctor to give you medical care, you're giving them permission to do whatever they want to your body. That's what the fucking law says.
My fortress. This is where I don't have to look far to find courage. This is where I'm always greeted with open arms. This is where my kids can be kids. And so can I. This is where I always rise after I fall, where I find comfort. This is my Ronald McDonald house. This is where families find a home away from home, close to their